We're talking Padres Dodgers, right?
Yeah, right. All right, let's get rolling. Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. I am H-Town Wheelhouse. You can find me on Twitter at H-Town Wheelhouse. You can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. You can also find the show Locked On Astros at Locked On Astros on Twitter. And we have our special guest, the former Major League pitcher, Clay Hensley, Pearland native. How you doing, sir? Where can they find you?
I'm doing well, man. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at chensley32 and on Instagram at clay.hensley. So, yeah, right now you can find me on the West Coast.
Nice. Yeah, you're out there enjoying that beautiful weather. Hopefully you guys have been – I know California's been experiencing a lot of adverse weather issues with the wildfires and everything. Have y'all been staying safe from that?
You know, where we're at in San Diego, we're in northern San Diego, so it's not too bad. You know, we're not seeing really any of the effects of the fires. You know, that's kind of getting towards like LA County a little bit, but they have been bad here. You know, I've had them come up to the house before, the backyard of the house. So, you know, whenever it's that time of year where there's fires and it's so dry out here right now, yeah, you always got to be mindful because it can flare up pretty quickly.
Yeah, you know, and so that kind of puts everything into perspective. I know a lot of our neighbors to the east of us have experienced a lot of adversity when it comes to hurricanes and a lot of devastation. So we're definitely thinking about those people. So hopefully if you're a Locked On listener, no matter where you are, this is a little kind of time to step away and talk about your favorite Houston Astros. Remember, you can get Locked On Astros on Google, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen on your smart device. When you do get in your car, tell your smart device to play the podcast Locked On Astros. So we're going to get into the obvious 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that is the ALCS, and that is featuring the number 1 seed Rays against the number 6 seed Houston Astros. And if you would have told me 2 months ago that the Rays would be in the ALCS, I would have said, I don't know about that, but I have several friends of mine, namely our guy Correa at Stros411. He actually picked the Astros to be against the Rays because he thought this 60-game season set up well for them and the team that they have. Clay, are you surprised that the Rays were able to get past the Yankees after the Yankees' hot start, hitting like 15 bombs in the first round?
You know, I think when everybody saw New York coming out banging, and they had a lot of their sluggers that were healthy, you know, with, you know, Stanton. I mean, even there was at a point it felt like where you didn't see a lot of Judge because Stanton was out there doing his thing. And look, that's a tough lineup when they're healthy, right? And that's the key. And they were healthy in the first round of the playoffs with, you know, the biggest bombers pretty much in the game all stacked up in that lineup. But, you know, Tampa's been one of those teams, you know, that just, you know, they seem to put it together at the right time. It's not like it's super exciting baseball to watch, but they do get the timely hits. They do have some arms up there, and you know, look, it's you know when they're kind of coming out of that division over there, it's one of those teams that you want to watch out for. I mean, I remember back in the day when Tampa was good when I was playing, it was just a scrappy ball club, and they've maintained that. You know, even when Joe Madden was the manager at the time, it seems like there's still some of that feeling in the air, and he kind of set precedence in terms of just like the way they play the game and the way the front office picks their players in the off season. Yeah, it's a team to be reckoned with, and they're obviously here.
Yeah, you know, and I saw an interesting graphic that someone put up that because this year they have the adjusted payrolls, and Garrett Cole's adjusted payroll is more than the entire adjusted payroll of the roster of those guys that are playing in Tampa. He's making more money than the entire team is this year in 2020. And, you know, it's odd. Now, full disclosure, I know there are a lot of Astros fans that are like, haha, we told you so, you should have stayed. But the fact is, the only World Series that we've won, Garrett Cole is not a part of that team. Garrett Cole was a part of the team that failed to get there. Now, in his defense, a lot of people felt like Hint should have put him in Game 7. Maybe that changes everything. Will Harris doesn't give up the long ball. We're talking about the Astros winning back-to-back world titles. I don't think Garrett Cole stays, but it's almost like looking at the scenario. The Yankees, to me, take the wrong approach with building their club. I think they believed that Cole was going to fix their problems, and it's their core that's their problem. It's their inconsistent offense, and it's proven by the fact that they let the Tampa Bay Rays beat them in a 2-1 game in a final game. So that sets up nicely for a storyline of the Houston Astros versus Charlie Morton. I know Blake Snell gets the start. So let's talk about the opening starters. Framber Valdez does enough to wow and swoon Dusty Baker to make him the ace of this ball club. And now Framber Valdez is starting against Blake Snell. Now, Blake Snell did say, I respect these guys. I faced them. They're a tough lineup. They're talented. He didn't talk about trash cans. He didn't talk about cheating. He came across humble, and he's ready to compete, unlike the Oakland A's. So do you think the Rays come in with a better mindset and maybe more dangerous opponent than the Oakland A's are at this point?
Well, so look, just as you know, this is a very humbling game, right? And you can never be bigger than the game. When you see the kind of back and forth a little bit from and to be quite honest with you, it's the way the game is played a lot today, which is like we talked about last time. I just don't like. I do appreciate the professionalism, that Snell's showing in some of these interviews and some of what he's saying about the ball club. But he's absolutely correct, because how can you go in there with a cocky attitude and you're in the championships series for the league, right? You're in the ALCS. So, I mean, the team's got to be somebody to be reckoned with. He knows what the Astros are capable of. He knows that they're watching the film on the team prior to this in case they were to beat New York and then make it over here. They see what the team's doing. Everybody can see that, hey, they kind of started getting a spark against Oakland. And a team like Oakland, when they're running their mouth like they did, that's what you don't want to do against a young ball club like the Houston Astros, because it did fire them up, and we saw what happened in the last few games. Everybody was starting to get hot. Even a lot of the mainstays that were kind of starting off a little slow, everybody was a little concerned, started lighting it up at the right time and taking that momentum going into this. Everybody's getting to the point to where they can kind of taste it now. It's getting pretty close. So I appreciate, finally, it is a refreshing, honestly, with these two guys. I don't know if you got a chance to catch some of the interviews with both starting pitchers, but what I like about Valdez is that young guy, right? Obviously, he's got some good stuff, and so he's one of those storylines to me. So where if you look at it, there's some guys that have seasoned through the minor league. They have to take their time, and you know what? This very well could have been a situation if it was a normal season. He could be in Round Rock right now, right? He could be wearing a AAA jersey, not as of today, but most towards the end of the season for the minor league baseball season, but he got an opportunity and he stepped up. And if you listen to him talk, he is doing everything like you're supposed to be doing. He's saying everything you're supposed to be saying. It sounded almost like the script that was handed to me whenever I was a rookie. It was like, I'm so thankful to be here. I'm so thankful that my managers give me an opportunity to pitch. I'm very blessed to be here, and I just want to give my ball club a chance to win, right? I mean, it's like the story, and I appreciate that, because that's how you're supposed to do it as a young guy. And then you got Snell on the other side, showing respect for the team about who he's going to play. And it's one of those things where you never underestimate your opponent. He knows what Houston's capable of. He's going to come in ready. I do appreciate these two guys finally having a little bit of professionalism in baseball, because it's something that you don't see right now.
No, yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of times players do it because I think they believe that this is what their fan base expects out of them. Like if they don't, like the guy that painted the mural of Joe Kelly, like to me as a grown man, why would you paint a mural of another grown man sticking his lip out like a baby? I just, I kind of get the lightning rod moment. I get that. But it's not like Joe Kelly did that and walked off the field and the Dodgers beat them in the World Series.
Right.
To me, it was very childish. And that is one thing that if you talk to Houston Astros fans, and you being from the area, that I feel is a little different, is we feel like we pride ourselves in earning things. And I know a lot of people think that word earning is ironic because of 2017. But we don't ever feel entitled. Like we didn't feel entitled because Harvey. We don't feel entitled because, I mean, we do feel like we are second fiddle. We're the third wheel. The media ignores us a lot. But at the end of the day, all these other clubs, they have this entitlement. And I don't feel that from the Rays. I feel like the Rays are a scrappy team. They're a dangerous team. Now, I did run a poll for Locked On Astros, and I said, who would you fear more, Yankees hitters or Rays pitching? And everybody by far said Yankees hitters. But the thing is, in the ALDS, the Yankees hitters didn't really, I mean, they were kind of really, really hot or really, really cold. And for them to go down 2-1, I was absolutely surprised. And it's kind of funny, the crickets that you hear right now from Yankees Nation. I mean, they were so loud. I retweeted Eric Hubbs from Barstool, who I'm not a big fan of. When they signed Garrett Cole, he was like, we're going to win. We might win every world title for the next decade. I mean, he was just like, you guys, we're like, he just went out and basically showed his AWS on this video. And, I get it. Any fan base probably would have been as pumped, but they're just eating their crow right now. So to talk about the Astros and what I think is key for this series is they've been able to silence the noise. They've been able to take the hatred that is pointed at them and turn it as a motivator and something that makes them better. I mean, Carlos Correa, who last year was heavily criticized because of the rib injury, the whole massage thing. He couldn't stay healthy. He was soft. He's uncultured. He kind of acts like a guy that's never been outside of a base. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like just his – yeah, he's a kid. He's just immature. And he has, I think, this season taken 2020 and really gone full bore into it, taken advantage. And now he's hitting 500 in the postseason. How key do you think it is for someone like Carlos Correa, who's a lightning rod, to be as hot as he is? And do you think someone like that worries the Tampa Bay Rays?
Right, that's old school, man. You just dated yourself right there. Yeah. No, so look, Correa is the entire ball club, right, is young, and everybody's known that. But that's one of the things that is exciting everybody about this ball club, because the simple fact that if they came up and they did what they were capable of, which they started to do, this could be something that could be a mainstay for a long time, right? Well, you had the quote unquote scandal happen. I think personally, if I was in that locker room, this is an opportunity for Correa to be a leader. This is where he can make a transition to really be a leader on this ball club, because he's got the ability, he's got the defense, he's got the offensive play, definitely got the playoff numbers right now, and he's turned on, and he is a huge igniter for the ball club. Him and Springer, those guys get going. Altuve gets hot. He does his normal thing. To have a guy like Correa, as young as he is, the maturity, look, how much has changed in the year, right? You can see the difference in the way he's playing the game, the way he's carrying himself. I would like to see him, like the professionalism. We're talking about some of the old school play of just, let the play, do the talking. Nobody needs to run their mouth. And, all the stuff that's going on, it's just we're in a generation where everybody's concerned about likes and friends and that are following them. And that's where we're getting away from, like, hey, go out there and treat this with some professionalism. And then also at the same time, as the Houston Astros, with everything that's going on, keep your head down, go after it, and kick butt. And they were doing that, and I think they started to get that run against Oakland, and they can carry that into Tampa and just play the game, man. Just play baseball, and everything's going to follow. Once Correa starts igniting, just like he did, everybody starts turning it up, and we got to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, exactly. And, George Springer has done a great job. He's hitting 321. Brantley's hitting 393. Shoot, Kyle Tucker hitting 400. It's just unbelievable. And what's crazy is Altuve's actually hitting 273. He's raised his average 68 points in the postseason. So while he's still not 300 Altuve, he is a menace at the plate. He hit the long ball. I think that was a big monkey off his back. Right. He made some amazing defensive plays in that final game of the ALDS. You've got, and here's the thing, Maldonado may not be an offensive force, but Maldonado to me has the ability to sit there and
he does really good behind the plate. Like, he's calling the games right. Like you say, he's not a huge offensive threat, but at the same time too, he's got pop.
Exactly. Yeah.
He does have some pop.
Yeah, he has pop. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Thanks for
helping me. I knew where you were going with it, though.
Yeah,
I knew where you were going with it. But because that is something that's like scary from a pitcher standpoint. I mean, look, if you got catchers that have pop, anybody in this lineup can change the scope of the game at any given time. So that's what makes these playoffs, and especially this particular series, dangerous, because everybody seems to be these late inning heroics.
Well, here's the deal. If you're kind of feeling like you need a fresh charge, or maybe if your laptop's going to die, you can always get a charger, right? If you need to just walk away from a Zoom meeting and you're like, man, I need a snack, what do? You go and grab a Built Bar. That's right. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar on the market. It is a protein bar that actually tastes like a candy bar. It is wrapped in 100% chocolate, and it is great for the healthy, conscious guy or girl. It is keto friendly. It's packed with it's packed with protein. It's not packed with carbs. It doesn't have a ton of sugar. And at the end of the day, Built Bar is doing a great thing right now. They are partnering with several breast cancer foundations. In any purchase you make, donations go towards that. They're selling a great hoodie that you can check out online. When you use the code Locked On, when you go to Built Bar, you can get $10 off your first order. And also, you can get so many good flavors. There's one flavor I talk about all the time, Clay. It is actually carrot cake. And I absolutely hate carrot cake. Like in real life, yes, if you hand me a carrot cake, I'm like, no. But they have a carrot cake flavor in Built Bar, and it's got walnuts, and I don't like walnuts. And it's my favorite Built Bar. So
It's that good. It's got everything in there that you don't like, but you love this bar.
But I love it. It's my favorite flavor. So I'm excited about the new strawberry flavor they have this month. And like I said, proceeds go to several different breast cancer foundations. Built Bar isn't just a protein bar. It's a candy bar that's made for you. And you can lose weight, maintain weight, whatever you want with this, because it's a healthy snack. So go to BuiltBar.com and use the code Locked On for $10 off your first order. That's BuiltBar.com for Locked On Astros. Go do that. And so getting back into the swing of things with the Astros and the Rays. So we have Snell versus Valdez in Game 1. Then Game 2, they showed Lance McCullers Jr. going in Game 2. And I'm assuming Game 2 is going to be Charlie Morton. I have not seen any output on that. Have you seen who they are throwing in Game 2?
Right now, they haven't said who's going to end up going in that game. I think it's kind of up in the air. Morton is one of the ones that they've been discussing, but I think
it could be Glasnow as well.
Yeah, and you know what? But there's also some numbers that go against Glasnow as well. Right? Houston, there's a couple guys
Houston,
on there that really like him. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I would love for Glasnow to go to Game 2.
Yeah, as an Astros fan, absolutely. Look, Charlie Morton though, I remember it had to be 2010 or 2011. He made a change, and he made the change where he started throwing the power sinker, and he was working at the time with the late great Roy Halladay. And, if you look at some of these split screens with those two pitching at the time, I mean, it was almost identical, right? And that's where he kind of started taking off, and then his career really, really started to take stride. And he's a guy that is scary to me in a playoff atmosphere, because if he is the Charlie Morton where he's got his game on point and he's got his confidence out there and he does got something to prove. I mean, you always want to pitch well against the team that you played with before. He's just got to throw a good power sinker down the middle, and we beat it in the ground. But there's some guys on the Astros lineup that do like that low down and in baseball. So, it could be – look, we talked about this before. I think it's going to end up probably being something similar to what we've seen a little bit lately in a lot of the playoff games, where it's kind of getting a little shutout. Either they get touched up early, the starting pitchers get touched up early, or it's a pitcher's duel until like the 6th or 7th inning. And it's really the long ball that's killing everybody. And, look – I think Houston's ignited the fire against Oakland. They got the chip on the shoulder there. They got a lot to prove in the league in the playoffs, and I think they're just looking at Tampa Bay as one of those teams that they just want to continue to step over. Just stay the course, take it one pitch at a time, one game at a time, and play some baseball.
So is Petco Park a better option for the pitchers than Dodger Stadium, being that the ALCS is in Petco and not in Dodger Stadium?
I think so. They're just for me personally, and I think there's a lot of guys who probably could agree with me on this. Pitching in Dodger Stadium, it felt like the pitcher's mound was maybe know, 89 feet, 90 feet. I mean, it's because it has such a big backstop area, foul ball area, that it just feels like you're kind of out in no man's land when you're out there throwing. The mound's really, really tall. You know, for me, it was kind of good because it made me 4'7" instead of 4'5" when I was standing on the mound. But, you know, it was one of those things that, you know, it's a tall mound. You got to get used to it. Most mounds, I think it's honestly a few inches, maybe probably about 3 inches taller than most of the mounds in the league. So when you go to, you don't realize it, but that makes such a significant difference from game to game or stadium to stadium, and you get so used to playing at a certain height. I mean, there's only a few ballparks that you could say may feel a little bit low or feel high, and LA is one of those where it feels high, so it's kind of tough to get the ball down. I didn't like pitching there personally. I don't even know if I had one good game there in 2006. I got hit in the head with a bat, and in the second inning, watching a ground ball double play get turned, and I don't remember the rest of the game. Apparently, I went out and I ended up throwing up some zeros. But I got smoked with a broken bat. That was my only good game. And I don't really remember that. That was a long time ago. All my other games after that, I got lit up. Petco ties up for it better because there's a little bit more moisture in there. You got the marine layer down there in downtown. It's cool. It gets cool at night. So, you know, the ball's not as hot, I guess, typically as it is in some places, you know, on the West Coast. There's not a lot of wind, right? So it is a pitcher's ballpark. I mean, they had to move the fences in. You know, at one time it was 411 in the right center field gap. Left field was deep, and I still somehow managed to give up some home runs there when it was that big. But you know, it was it's definitely a good place to pitch. Infield and everything is always pristine. It's one of the better ballparks.
Nice, you know, and that's the thing. You know, you mentioned no matter how good you pitch as a professional, you're facing professional hitters. And so
Absolutely.
you know, those guys are gonna get over, and really it's gonna come down to putting those pitches in the right location. You know, Framber Valdez trusting his stuff over the plate whenever Christian Javier or you know, Paredes, when they get on the mound, when those guys get out there trusting their stuff over the plate, not trying to go too far off, because you know Tampa is aware of them trying to work hitters off the plate. And you know, Oakland in a couple games actually handled that pretty well. They didn't bite on those things a whole lot. There weren't a ton of swings and misses in that series. And so the Astros were forced to play over the plate. And so hopefully, with this being more of a pitcher's ballpark, that will be advantage Astros. But going into this, do we think when we talk about bullpens and starting pitchers, do we think the Rays have the overall advantage just because they have more guys that are pretty much major league pitchers versus the Astros having 9 minor league pitchers? And I know the Astros have performed well and above what you would think they would, but who would you give the advantage to just on paper, the Rays or the Astros?
You know, I probably would have to, you know, it's all about trends and tendencies, right?
Right.
And in the playoffs, you got to go with who's hot. I mean, look who's starting in game 1 for the Houston Astros. Like I said, if you would have had a normal season, would you have gone to him as your starter? So there's so many different variables into this season of what makes up bullpens, because you're not having to deal with a lot of the struggles that a lot of bullpens deal with. You might be dealing with some injuries, but see, these injuries that people are dealing with are mid-season injuries. So in the grand scope of what a normal season typically would be, right? So, but I think in terms of with the Rays and the Astros matching up, you would like to believe that the Astros young bullpen continues the course of where they're going right now. You know, it's almost like some of these guys are so young and so raw that they're almost ignorant to the fact of what's really going on. And that can play, you know, it's almost like effectively wild would be kind of a way to describe that, right? But I think whenever you're looking at these two matchup, you know, the Rays, I think they probably gain the edge on paper. I think based on the way that the teams are actually pitching as of the last, you know, give me 5 days, like Houston. So you got to go with who's hot. I would say on paper, looking on this, you know, if you're just a writer trying to look at some of these stats and how these things are matching up, you probably would go with Tampa. But I'm going to go with Houston on this one because of the momentum that they have coming from Oakland.
Yeah, momentum is huge, and you know, I used to tell my girls all the time when I was coaching girls volleyball and basketball that, hard work can beat talent any day.
Oh,
You can have talent, but if you work hard and baseball there is a lot of luck involved, a lot of the ball bouncing your way, a lot of, someone could get kind of like in the Oakland series. Marcus Simeon got an errant bounce and made that error, and that extended that inning, and that
yeah,
changed everything for that game.
everything. Yeah.
Everything was one play. You
Yep.
put all that
Yep.
work into the season, and gosh dang it, if baseball doesn't come back and slap you in the face and reality hits you, that it literally Oakland's
It happened right
season
then.
swung on that whole thing. It makes you wonder if Dallas Braden's little tirade on Twitter wasn't the thing that caused that ball to hit wrong. I don't know if you saw that, but
I didn't see that.
Dallas Braden, he looking like a homeless dude on camera, was like talking about, you just ran into a buzzsaw known as the Oakland A's, the Golden Green. And he basically said like the Astros were going to get drove out of the playoffs and stuff. And there was like, update. So, Dallas was just backing his boys.
Just trying to stay relevant too.
Yeah, exactly. But shoot, Dallas Braden's always going to be more relevant than I ever will. I don't know if anybody cares about me throwing out 16 of 18 runners as a catcher my last year playing baseball, but I digress. I think in this series you're going to have some guys contribute pitching wise, like Blake Taylor, continue his 0 ERA. Andre Scrub is going to have to at some point probably be exposed in a 7-game series. Jose Urquidy is going to be key whenever he gets a start. He's going to have to not give up the long ball. But does the humidity in the air, does that benefit a pitcher in being able to grip the ball, or does that make the ball more like fly out of your hand easier?
I liked it hot when I pitched. I think when it was cool outside, the balls tend to be a little slick. But, so it's a little interesting, the weather dynamic here in San Diego, especially in downtown. I'm in North County right now, and it's probably 20 degrees warmer than it is in downtown. Downtown gets a little bit that marine layer, gets a cool breeze, but it's not really as humid, if that kind of makes sense. It does have a marine layer. It's not foggy or anything like that, but the ball doesn't really just fly. Obviously, Petco has been known to be a graveyard. One thing I can say that Petco and the grounds crew do very well there, and even the ball boys that are taking care of the balls and rubbing those up. I never had a situation when I pitched in San Diego where I felt like the ball was slick. You could go up to LA, not that far, obviously north, or if we had an interleague series at the time against Anaheim, it felt like the ball would just fly. But, the stadium is a pretty enclosed stadium. There's not a tremendous amount of wind that goes through that stadium, believe it or not, even if it's right there on the coast and on the bay. But it's also surrounded by some pretty big skyscrapers. They've recently built a lot of big hotels right there on the bay on the other side of the road from Petco, where it wasn't there. There was a breeze that used to travel right through the concourse and go out in the center field, but that's kind of been mitigated now with all these new buildings out there. So, even though they brought the fences in, it still remains to be a little bit of a graveyard. The balls, they're not slick. You get plenty of grip. It's not like you're pitching in Colorado, or if you're in Houston at times whenever it's so humid that you feel like you can't get a grip. But I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue in terms of what these pitchers are going to have on the field with their fingers in the ball.
So let's go ahead and go with our prediction for tonight. What do you think happens? You can either say just straight up victory, Houston or Tampa. You can give me victory and you can give me score. I don't know how specific you want to get with it, but you tell me, how are you feeling Astros and Rays going into this evening?
I think we're going to see another gem out of the starter. I think we're going to see Valdez go out there and deal. You know why? Because here's the reason why. And I know this is going to be a long answer for your question, but I gotta say this. What I like about this kid is that you're not seeing a lot of guys go with that heater inside for a strike with 2 strikes. He's freezing guys up. You don't see a lot of that. I know the comparison is not the same, don't get me wrong, but if you were to open your eyes in the last 20 feet of the pitch and you see the way this ball's diving in on the right-handed hitters, it's reminiscent of you see a Randy Johnson just pounding guys in over the plate, because what everybody's doing now is throwing these pitches so far off the plate, everybody's spitting on them. Next thing you know, you see a young guy get even in a count. Now he gets behind, and that's where the young and the immaturity part of the game starts to unravel. I don't see it in him. I think he's going to go out there and he's going to pitch a good ball game. I think he's going to give Jesse Baker 7 innings of one-run baseball.
Wow.
And I think the Astros are going to win this ball game 5-2.
Wow, 5-2. Clay Hensley coming in hot like a Framber 2-strike pitch. I like that. You know, I pick Framber to also go 7. I just don't see him going any less. I think he's ready for it mentally. I just
better.
Exactly. I just look at the Rays lineup. There are a couple hitters that are dangerous, like Austin Meadows, guys like that are in there. That you know they can pack a punch. They've got Wendell, Lowe, Diaz, Adames, Margot is Choi, all these different guys. They've got the ability to hit the long ball, but I think with the graveyard, I think the Astros still power a couple home runs out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna pick the Astros to win a 7-3 ball game, and I think
7-3 in Petco. That's coming in hot.
Yes. I just think that with the spacious outfield, okay, because we talk about the long ball dying, right? I think you get guys like Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, Michael Brantley, Yuli Gurriel. They have the ability to hit those looping balls into the outfield, and you have to chase what the Astros hit in the outfield. They don't hit a lot of stuff to people. If they hit it to you, it's on the warning track, and if they're not hitting it to you, it's careening away. And I think their swings. I think Kyle Tucker's long swing. I think Brantley's ability to go inside out. I think, Bregman's ability to just pull and rip a ball down the left field line, I think sets well. You're going to see some seeing-eyed singles from a couple guys, and Carlos Correa. I mean, this entire lineup, top to bottom, has the ability to be an extra base hits machine. I think they score 7 runs. I think the Rays get 3 runs, but I think maybe 2 of those runs come in the 8th and 9th inning, and where it looks like the Rays are trying to come back. Valdez is off the mound. Maybe a reliever comes in and gives up a run. So they score. So they score 2 runs late, 7-3. Astros win.
I feel like I just watched the game. Did you watch it? Are you guys seeing the future here? Because that was specific right there. You're like, I see him getting a couple doubles here. He's going to steal third on a pass ball. No. So here's the deal. Petco, they did move the walls in, right? Okay, they moved the fence in, but it's mainly just kind of in the gaps. Okay, so right and left field, you can still go deep there. It's very easy now, and it is a yard where you can kind of hit right center field. It is reachable as any other ballpark. Left center field starts to die a little bit. I think you're going to see a boatload of doubles from both ball clubs. Okay. If there's making contact on the ball, I think both teams can hit the ball hard. Are they going out there and raking every inning? I think Houston's got the edge on that as of late, right? Coming in from Oakland. Oakland turned it up, but I see a lot of gappers out of Brantley and Correa.
Cool, definitely. Well, that's awesome. I think our fans would like to hear the prediction of Clay. I mean, I think Clay Hensley's prediction probably holds a little more water because you've actually played there. You've actually pitched in the big leagues. I just go off of what I've seen and what I know from a fan's perspective. But regardless, and I mean, I don't know, maybe this game seems closer than 7-3. You know how they say, like, when the game's like 10-1, but it was closer, it was 7-3, and it seems closer than the score shows. Who knows? I mean, but I think with the Astros, the sky's the limit. I think they go up 1-0. I think it's crappy that they got the day game the next day. MLB set up the Dodgers and the Braves in the prime time, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
The Dodgers are the story, right?
They are.
I'm going to tell you this right now, not to get off track, but if they don't get it done, they're not going to get it done for a long time because this is the last team that they have for a while to do it. But, it's funny you said that about like the games being close, but the score doesn't typically show. That is exactly what's going on, right? I mean, it's these close ball games, and then it's all of a sudden somebody ignites it in the 7th or 8th. They put up 3 or 4 runs because somebody unravels on the mound, and it looks like it's worse than what it actually was. And I think that's where we're going to be. Yeah, I think you called it right.
Cool deal. All right. Well, hey, Clay, that's going to be all for us here at Locked On Astros. We do appreciate you joining us on this Sunday morning. We will let our listeners get to hear this. It'll probably be up around noon or 1 o'clock today, giving them a few hours to get their daily dose of Locked On Astros.
To wake up on Sunday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Or, maybe they're at church, maybe they're at synagogue,
Yep.
whatever it is they do on Sundays. But we do appreciate all our listeners, and we appreciate you, Clay, coming on, a newfound friend of the show. And we look forward to talking to you more this week. And
Yep.
Go Astros.
Hey, I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. You know what? Being on the West Coast and getting up early for this show right now it's just getting me tuned up for hunting season. It's right around the corner, baby. So we'll be back in Texas down there. But yeah, I'll be down here on the West Coast and I'll be watching these games. And hey, I always love coming on the show. It's a blast.
Sounds good. Maybe we need to talk. I think we're going hunting in November or December. We've got a lease down in Zapata County. So
Zapata
real
County,
close.
there you
Yes,
go.
sir. Real close to the border.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so, yeah, we got one in Uvalde and we got a managed one down in South Texas,
Cool.
right outside of Kingsville. So I'd love to have you guys down.
Yeah, man. All right, Clay. Thank you so much. You have a good one.